Hi, I'm Mars from StrataGames, and today we're playing some more Dimir Faeries. This is a list from Barf, and it's pretty similar to a lot of other lists, obviously some minor differences, but the main difference is that we're running 4 of Fairy Miscreant. This is going to make us a little bit more tempo-y, a little bit more like Mono Blue. It increases our fairy count, so we now have not just 4 fairy seers, but 4 spell stutters and 4 miscreants. Because of that, we're also running not just 3 Ninja at the Deep Hours, but 2 Ninja at the Deep Hours and 2 Moon Circuit Hackers, as well as a Mukotai Ambusher. We are still running pretty controlling with 4 Snuffouts, Suffocating Fumes, 3 Cast Down, 4 Counterspell, but the more Ninjas and Fairies is generally going to make us be a little bit more aggressive. We also still have 2 Thorns of the Black Rose and 3 Augur of Bolas, and then 2 Brainstorm, 1 Dispel, 1 Ponder. Definitely interesting one-ofs and things like that, but I'm always a fan of one-ofs, and I assume that this is what Barf thought was the best after several leagues of testing. Also 4 Lorien Revealeds, and then we have a Bajuka Bog, 4 Contaminated Aquifers, 1 of Landscape, a bunch of snow-covered islands and snow-covered swamps. Snow-covered just because I just left it the way that the list was. Sideboard, 5 Blue Blast / Hydroblasts, a Dispel, 4 Steel Sabotage, another Ambusher, Arms of Hadar, Extracted Confession, and 2 Relics of Progenitus. So I love Dimir Faeries. I'm interested to see this list in action, so let's take it for a league and see how we do. We're on the play here, and, well, we don't really have the most controlling or even aggressive start. We have a turn 1 Miscreant into an Augur Bolas. Thorn of the Black Rose on turn 4. Ideally, the Augur will draw us a counterspell or something. We honestly have a pretty decent curve for a control deck, but we'll see how this runs. Play the Fairy. And we're against Black Sack. Carrion Feeder starting out. Snuffouts instantly going to be obsolete, but Cast Down's not a bad draw. I think we're still going to get down an Augur Bolas, which means it might be, well, it will be 2 turns until we get our black mana online, unless I top deck a Swamp. That's okay. Fairy Miscreant, Spell Stutter, and Contaminated Aquifer. Pretty unfortunate. We would have liked definitely the fairies there, if not also the land. Augur of Bolas is definitely a card I love to hate, and with only 20 spells in the deck, I'm not surprised it's going to whiff sometimes. Considerable amount of the time. Oh, okay. Not Black Sack, but not even Golgari Sack. This is blue-green Footlight Fiend. Okay, so not Black Sack. This is actually Sultai Tort X, I believe. This is a list that was going around for like a week or 2 sometime earlier this year, playing these cards, and pretty janky. We get a Lorien, we're just going to play an Aquifer and pass here. Haunted Mire, and a Cursed Marauder. Okay. I guess I could be wrong. It could also just be a really weird Black Sack list with, you know, basically a Sultai Sack list with some other stuff, but definitely reminiscent of that Tordex list from before. I'm going to cycle one of these Loriens. We'll keep the other one for now. I don't really know if I want to play a Thorn of the Black Rose, though, because they could have another Marauder or a way to recur it. So I think we'll just hold up Counterspell and cast down here. Another Thriving Land. I guess I'm going to cast this down. If it is Tordex, the Carrion Feeder might not be super necessary, although it's still a sack outlet, so it still might be relevant to that engine. But it seems like it'll probably be relevant in some way no matter what. Not to mention, obviously, if we want to get Thorn down, it makes sense to kill a creature. They're just going to pass here. Well, I'll cycle this Lorien, and I think we're just going to play down the Thorn. Oh, what are they doing on the end step? Dahada's Ploy. Okay. They discarded a Swamp there. Fairy Seer. Yeah, we're just going to play Fairy Seer, slam a Thorn, and Fairy Miscreant. Not the fairy we need, but I'll take a Spell Stutter, and hopefully they don't do anything too devastating. Then after this turn, I can just hold up counterspells. There's the Tortured Existence, though. Definitely what I was expecting. They can do some juggling of, I believe, with Dahada's Ploy, they play like the Eidolons that you also have been seeing a little bit in like Dimir Spirits recently. So they can recur those with multicolored spells and then swap them for any creature in their graveyard. Satyr Wayfinder, Shipwreck Sifters. Yep. Another payoff for discarding that spirit. They took a Swamp there, and then Rumble. Entropic Eidolon, Spore Frog. And they choose the Entropic, which is interesting, because that's the one they can already get back. So definitely an interesting choice. Well, Snuffhout's going to be a little more relevant than I thought it was going to be. Still not the most important thing ever, but we certainly can't let them get the Monarch, because if they can, they can just loop Spore Frog forever, and we can't really do anything about it. They only have 2 cards in hand right now, though, so ideally we can just counter anything they cast. Activate Tortured Existence, swapping the Eidolon for a Troll of Khazad-dûm, which I guess if they have an untapped land, they could just cast. Otherwise, they could just turn it into a land, play an Aquifer, and Rumble. I will Spell Stutter that. We do have a Bojuka Bog in our main deck. If I could just get that to blow up their graveyard, I think that would be pretty damning. Like, they already only have one card in hand, but they already have a lot of value in their graveyard that we could have a little bit of trouble. Don't need either of those. I'm just going to swing with everybody. I can block the Satyr Wayfinder or maybe just snuff it out. And I'd like to get some damage on them as quickly as possible here, I think. Flash back to Hada's Ploy. Bringing back the Eidolon. I could counter this because it's just going to draw them 2 cards, basically. Yeah, I kind of think we just keep their creature count, or their card count low. They get to bring this back, and then they can obviously swap this for any of the other creatures, but, oh, well, top decking a counterspell is pretty nice there, too. They're going to make a swap. Getting the Footlight Fiend. Interesting. Right, because the Footlight Fiend will trigger the Eidolon, which can just get it right back. Fair enough. And then they swap that for the Carrion Feeder, which can sack the Footlight Fiend to pick off Fairy Seer. I guess, is this all just to get the Monarch, which I can snuff out? I guess I'd rather they just... Obviously, the problem is any counterspell, you know, they could just get that card back with another creature, but can't do much about that, except for hold them off for a little while. They attack with the Wayfinder, just gonna snuff it out. Another snuff out. I'll swing with the Flyers and pass. Play a Thriving Isle. They got nothing. Spell Stutter's a great draw. We'll hit for 3. I can counter up to a 4-drop with the Spell Stutter. Tortured Existence, swap for the Mire Triton. Well, swap a Mire Triton for the Eidolon, that is. And then swap that for the Shipwreck Sifters. I feel like that was just a waste of a mana. They could have just swapped the Mire Triton for the Sifters. They have another Tortured Existence. I'm not getting rid of the first one, so that's totally fine. If they cast the Shipwreck Sifters, then I can counter that. Actually, I don't care to counter that. I'll just snuff it out, because most of their creatures are black, so I'd rather just snuff this out. It lets them mill a card, but that's pretty irrelevant. I'll snuff that guy out. Another Spell Stutter. Feeling pretty good with them at no cards. These are pretty close to hard counter spells. I can't counter like a troll, but everything else we've seen in their graveyard I could counter. And a Brainstorm. Tortured Existence. Swap for the Carrion Feeder. We will Spell Stutter that. And we take that game down. Alright, we don't have that much graveyard hate in our main deck, so nice we were able to get that one. Relics can be good. And Steel Sabotage. Unfortunately, we're not playing a null, so don't have actually a way to counter the Tortured Existence beyond our other, our actual counter spells and spell stutters, which we'll probably try to save up for those. Fumes, they do have a lot of 1 toughness creatures, but doesn't see greatest. I guess snuff outs are not the best. Extract a Confession for Carrion Feeder, the Sifters if it gets too big, Troll of Khazad-dûm. Maybe the Fumes is okay. Could bring in the Ambusher. I didn't see anything dispel hits except for Hada's Ploy. I guess countering that's not bad. Sure, let's bring in the last Ambusher. I mean, the snuff outs were useful, so maybe I shouldn't cut all of them, but I feel like if these can just pick up a Spell Stutter, it could be just as useful. I don't know. Yeah, this hand looks okay. We don't have a fairy for the ninjas, which is a bit unfortunate, but I could maybe just play one of these on turn 2, like the Hacker. But we also just have a Relic, which seems good enough. I probably am going to save the Relic because I'm going to assume they have some Masked Vandals or something in their sideboard. Not that we play other artifacts or enchantments, really, except for the Hackers, but they'll probably know to bring them in for sideboard relics, so I probably want to wait until I can just pop that. They just get the Existence down underneath the Spell Stutter, although that was a good draw still, so let's just pass. I can hopefully catch a 1-drop flashing that in, and then we can Moon-Circuit Hacker it back. I'll probably take just about any 1-drop. Shipwreck Sifters, not a 1-drop. They could still play Untapped Land, the Carrion Feeder, or Footlight Fiend, or whatever, though. Discard Hada's Ploy, there's a Swamp, and they play Carrion Feeder, nice. I will take my value for sure. I was going to cast that no matter what. I'm going to go for the Moon-Circuit Hacker. If I can pick it up and get an Untapped Land, then it's perfect, because I can have the Spell Stutter up, and if not, I'm just going to Brainstorm and hope I hit the land in the next 4 cards. Okay, double Miscreant could be good. Brainstorm hits another Miscreant. Alright, we're not shuffling any of these away, so let's just put back a couple cast downs. We do hit the land, luckily. I mean, even through that Brainstorm lock, I can, if I have a land directly underneath those 2 cards, I can draw it with these Miscreants, which could be pretty cool. Mire Triton mills 2, play a Swamp, another Sifters, discard Tortured Existence, they pass. So I could just play like one Miscreant, hold up a Spell Stutter. They only have 2 cards in hand though. I think we are just going for the triple Miscreant play here. Hoping for the land. And we get there. Nice. Okay, I'm not going to play the Relic, though, because if they can just exile it, I'm not even getting that much value. If they can just exile it, that's not really my favorite. I will swing with this Hacker, though. Trades for a Mire Triton, probably, but that's fine. All right, now we can start removing these sifters. We can hold up a Spell Stutter, and or we could just like ninja back a Miscreant here. That seems pretty good, actually. Spell Stutter also counters a 4-drop at this point. Pretty nice. Suffocating Fumes does make things a little worse, I will admit. They tapped for 3, and I was hoping they were just flashing back Dahada's Ploy, but they did have the answer to the Miscreants. I think we're still in a fine spot, but obviously would prefer to have those around. Land is good, so now I can just extract a Confession just to kill one of these guys, play a Relic, and hold up Spell Stutter. And I can hold up the Cracking of the Relic for if they have like a removal spell. I could also just crack it now to get rid of the Dahada's Ploy. It's not a terrible idea, but I think I'd rather just keep it around for later. They swing for 1 and pass. I think I will Spell Stutter here. Oh, actually, they're doing something. Dahada's Ploy with the Footlight Fiend. Sure. They get to draw 2 and discard a card. Discard a Kitchen Imp. Fair enough. Well, I'm going to cast the Spell Stutter so I can get the Ninja down. Now I have to cast on this Kitchen Imp, but that's fine. Not that big of an issue. Hit for 2, draw a card, and we have a Ponder or Brainstorm. I could cast 1 and try to hit a land, but I really need to hold up this Relic because if they get back the Kitchen Imp, discarding whatever else, then they can discard that Kitchen Imp to get back something else, and then they just get a lot of value. I think I'd rather hold up the Relic for sure here. And I'll probably pop it if they try to get anything onto the grave, but I'll wait until they discard something because then they'll ideally be wasting an extra card. Dahada's Ploy. Well, that's fine. Let them put more stuff in the grave first. Thriving Grove. Play a Swamp. They're going to pass. I assume they have a Spirit to pitch, so if I attack in, they'll pitch it, and then I, with the Tortured Existence to get back like an imp or whatever, then I don't get my card draw. But if I crack the Relic, I do get an extra card from them, so it's basically the same. I just get to make them discard a card. So I might just do that, but I'm going to Ponder first. Another Cast Down, Mukutai Ambusher for the Spell Stutter Island. Sure. Seems okay. Activate Relic. Swing. They don't block. Alright, well that's obviously fine too. I just get to draw a card. Still just have my Cast Downs. Top card is a land. We'll pass. Tortured Existence going for Carrion Feeder, discarding an Eidolon. That's fine, because I can just counter the Carrion Feeder with the Spell Stutter. Although they know about the Spell Stutter, so maybe that won't work. But I also can't block, so I can't even block the Ninja, so I don't even need to use a Cast Down on it. They play a Haunted Mire. Footlight Fiend gets back the Eidolon. Guess I counter this guy, because the Carrion Feeder would allow it to like pick off the Ninja. I don't know. I don't care as much about the Carrion Feeder, so I guess I'll counter this, even though they can just swap this, the Eidolon, for this. But then I can crack a Relic, actually. Yeah, I think we'll just do that now. They can swap their Carrion Feeder for 1 card they want to save, or they could flashback to Dahada's Ploy, discarding the Carrion Feeder to get back the Eidolon, but don't think any of that really matters that much. They discard the Carrion Feeder to get a Footlight Fiend. That's the 1 card they want back. That's great. This is like the lowest impact creature they could have gotten. I guess they can play it and it can block the Ninja, but I can just, or I can like trade with the Spell Stutter. I guess probably just because it brings back the Eidolon, so they're hoping to hit a big jackpot or something. I don't know. I'm casting this down. Then we're ambushing. We get the Spell Stutter back. We hit for a bunch. Let's Brainstorm first. If I hit like this Ninja, I'd probably prefer that. I played a land, so that was a bit of a goof, but that's okay. Hit for 5, and now we're holding up a million counter spells. I think we'll be A-okay. Alright, we win that match. You can now pick up my comprehensive guide to Esper Cryo Affinity, including 38 sideboard matchups, and I just put out a big update for my Black Sack guide, including a slightly different deck list. I began offering coaching sessions if you're interested in taking your Pauper game to the next level, and I'm accepting deck donations, so if you desperately want me to play a deck that I usually wouldn't play, something like Elves, then you can make me do that for a small fee. I've started posting a League video every single day, not to mention streaming at least a couple times a week on Twitch, but I'm not going to be able to keep that up forever unless I can get a little bit more help from the community. Any of the ways I've just mentioned are great ways to help me out, or you can even subscribe and support me on a monthly basis. Alright, we're on the play. Round 2 here. 2 snuff outs with no swamps, but we have Fairy Miscreant into Ninja. Maybe the Miscreant doesn't have the most value to bounce with the Ninja until we have another Miscreant, in which case it has tons of value, so it's possible, depending on what we're up against, I could also go Augur and then Ninja back the Augur, but we'll see. Looks like we're against something red, so I feel like the Ninja probably is just going to eat a Bolt, so I'm just going to go for the Augur. I mean, it still might just eat a Bolt. I think I'll go for the Lorien. Well, if I go for Lorien, I can make sure I have my Swamp, which could be relevant for against Madness. Picking off a Gutter Snipe right away. I guess I'll take Ponder, though. I kind of want some counter spells. This way, if they go for like a grab the prize and tap out, then maybe I can get the Ninja down and hit for one. But Great Furnace means rally. So there's Emissary into Reckless Impulse. Bushwhacker off the top. Okay, so Augur gets to sit back. I can hit in with the Ninja, though. Let's just Ponder. If I hit another Miscreant, then I kind of want that. Although this is kind of awkward, because then another Ninja. I Miscreant first, draw a card, then Augur. Yeah, we're going to keep these, because it feels like the power of the Miscreant's really strong here. And I'm even going to attack with this one. Next turn I can like double Ninja maybe? Probably not. Probably single Ninja on a Miscreant. I don't know. There's the Bushwhacker. Okay. I expected something before that. I'll block this guy. Like I expected a Tomb Raider or something. Inventor's Axe. Okay. If this is just trading with that guy, that's totally fine. Axe equips for free once. So we're just going to swing. Ninja this back. Hit for 2. Draw a card, another Snuff Out. So now I could Augur, which is the best blocker. I think we do that, even though just playing the Miscreant ensures we get that card draw. Yeah, whiff on that, although I didn't really want any of those cards anyway. We already have a Ninja, and I don't need more islands. Not that I really need Snuff Outs available either, but I still would take a Swamp. There's an Epicure. Discard a Mountain to the Blood. Tomb Raider. Equip up the Inventor's Axe and just swing for 4. Alright, well. Oh, they Galvanic Blast. The Augur. Did they think they had Metalcraft? Because now they doing it this way, like I could block here, or I could just chump here. I could take 6. That seems like a lot though. Let me just chump here. I mean, this guy just absorbed 6 damage, so I'm not too upset about that. Fairy Miscreant draws a card here. Spell Stutter. Okay. Well, I wanted to Ninja back a Miscreant and then replay the Miscreant. I think I'm still going to do that. I draw so many cards. I mean, this game's not necessarily about drawing cards. Also, I'm attacking with this Ninja. It could block, but there's so many cards to be drawn. I can't resist the value. Another Miscreant. Brainstorm. So, yeah, let's play this. Draw a card. Land? No. Okay. We're going to discard a Snuff Out. But assuming we don't just get blown out here, they play a land and a Clockwork. Okay, so I think we're fine. I want to keep one of these because I have another Miscreant in hand. I think we just block here, take 4. I mean, honestly, like with 2 counterspells and the Spell Stutters, I think I can just attack with everything here. Like we could chump, take 4, and then we have them dead next turn. Let's draw. There's finally a black source. And a bog. Even if they get a Bushwhacker, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that's not lethal. Not to mention we have the counter spells. So yeah, let's just play an island and pass the turn. There's an impulse. We're gonna spell stutter it. Swing with these guys, so block, block. Let's go for a Brainstorm, bunch of lands. Psycholorian for an Aquifer, and we'll be safe. We'll trade here. The Axe can't re-equip unless they get another Axe. Plus we just have like another Spell Stutter in hand. We can attack for a bunch. Keep a counter spell on top. Aquifer, swing with the team. Trade for a Ninja here. Find a Mountain off the Percussionist. And we'll draw our counterspell and they concede. So Arms of Hadar and Blue Blasts. Dispel is fine, but I don't think super necessary. Although first we're cutting Snuff Outs and Thorns. Ambusher's good. Augur's just good as a blocker. So yeah, I think Dispel's probably the last cut. Dispel can get Lightning Bolt. Galvanic. I guess maybe these are fine over cast downs, just because casting down their creatures is kind of a waste. But that means we don't have much of any single target removal, and it's not terrible to have like a cast down to kill a 2/2. We're on the draw, and we have Fairy Seers. I mean, technically this one island could cast / ninjutsu everything in our hand. So we're going to keep it. Obviously, we're hoping to find some lands. There's a land. Okay. That already helps. So I don't have to play a Fairy Seer right now. I probably still will. I could hold up a Blue Blast for their terrifying turn 2 of like Burning Tree and everything. This is already being problematic though. I think we'll get down to Fairy Seer. Looking for more lands. Ooh, Swamp's not really where I want to be at though. I wanted an island so desperately here. Augur's a decent blocker, so I guess that could be okay. Maybe I should just bin them both, though. There's a blast. In with the Tomb Raider. Not the end of the world, although they're probably going to red blast this Augur, and that's going to be worse. Yep. I don't really have a great other play. I could have just like played a Fairy Seer, cracked the landscape, or held up a Blue Blast. Didn't feel great, although they still don't have any other creatures. Well, there's the Burning Tree. Just didn't have a way to use the mana. Aquifer's something. I think I'm going to Fairy Seer, double Counterspell. I was going to sacrifice this landscape, so the shuffle doesn't matter now. The scry doesn't matter now. I should have done this in response or after the sacrifice, because I want that Counterspell, actually. But just taking it means I have just one counterspell available, whereas I'd prefer to have 3 blue mana. So yeah, a bit of a waste. Down to 10. Gotta sack this. For an island. Alright. Mukotai could be something good. Play this. We get to hold a Blue Blast and Dispel. So Dispel the Galvanic. But I really don't think we can take all of this. So I'm gonna Blue Blast the Burning Tree Emissary. Take 2. Hoping their last card's a mountain. Looks like it might be. Ooh, Counterspell. So I could go for the Mukotai. Or I could just Hacker, draws a card, and I get to hold up Counterspell. Playing it a bit risky, but I think we're going to go for that. Yeah, we'll just pass. Not what I wanted. I wanted to land there pretty badly. They concede the match. I mean, clearly I assume their last 2 cards were lands, but, you know, we were not in the best spot ever, but we'll take it. All right, on the play again. No lands. Alright, this one's pretty good though. Just get to go Fairy Seer into either Augur or Spell Stutter. Seems nice. I can set up the Augur, potentially, if I have 2 cards I want to keep, one of which is a spell. Yeah, I guess I don't mind keeping those. I mean, who knows if Dispel will be super useful, but make sure we hit with the Augur, then we have double Spell Stutter after that. So we have Forest. Elves. Okay, well, Dispel probably not going to be useful in that case. So I could just hold up Spell Stutter for 2. Then if they just play like a Timberwatch Elf or something, it's not really going to be very helpful. But if they cast like a Priest of Titania, I can Spell Stutter it, Winding Way, etc. If they go for a Quirion Ranger, I will counter that. Okay, Cycle Generation means they can only play 2 drops or less now. Yeah, we'll counter the Quirion. That one's pretty good. They swing for 1. We have a Dispel that we kept. I mean, that card's pretty decent in general. That's why it's in our main deck, so I think it was fine to keep, especially because I thought I might Augur, but now it's looking pretty bad, I will admit. I don't think they usually play a single instant in their main deck. We'll counter the Priest, and there's a Sentinel. That guy's got Reach. I was happy to not see it last turn, but apparently they just drew that, and we get a Counterspell. Well, I need to find black mana and Snuff Out. Well, there's the Snuff Out, and yeah, like a Brainstorm or a Ponder or something would be our best draw into an Aquifer for the Snuff Out. Brainstorm, and then we get a Ninja and the Aquifer. Oh, that'd be so good. Oh, brother. Timberwatch Elf. It's pretty good, too. Miscreant. Guess we're going to play that. Hold up Counterspell. Another Sentinel. I can't waste a Counterspell on that, unfortunately. Masked Vandal. That doesn't get anything, so I really don't care about that. They pass. Miscreant's not a bad draw, I suppose. The first one was, but the second one not as much. Alright, there's a Snuff Out. I guess I gotta counter the second Timberwatch. I'd rather save this for like a Lead the Stampede or something, especially when I have Snuff Outs that could hopefully take care of these, but if I just don't find a black mana, then 2 Timberwatches would be pretty brutal, because this can give +5. Yeah, I'll just take the damage. Oh my gosh. We have 10 black sources in the deck. We saw one of them go to the bottom, but otherwise haven't seen any. And I gotta preserve my life total a little bit so that the Snuff Out will be actually useful. Well, the first and the second, maybe even a third one, so I'm going to have to chump here. Zan, Tunnel Web Explorer. Sure, they get to Rampant Growth. That's not that scary. Yes, let's just draw every black spell in our deck. Please and thank you. Third Sentinel, replay the Masked Vandal. This is giving +6, so this would be 7 damage. Yep, we're going to block. Counterspell. Perfectly timed, as all things should be. Elvish Mystic. This is giving +7. Yep, I feel like they could have been attacking with more earlier, but this is... I don't really know what to do here. We block here. We could still be taking 9, and then I can't even use a Snuff Out. Well, okay, they got us. That was really frustrating. I feel like we have a very good matchup against elves. We just did not draw anything we needed at all. We don't really have a sideboard against them, but we just have 4 main deck Snuff Outs. We have Suffocating Fumes in the main deck. I guess we're just making that one swap. Yep, this one looks okay. Can actually get my black mana this time. They don't even have a 1-drop. Pretty nice. Alright, we draw an island, so I could hold up a Spell Stutter, but they didn't even play a 1-drop here, so it feels like they probably don't have it. And they could just have a Generous Ent to cycle, which I assume they do, but still feels like you would have played the 1-drop if you had it. I don't know. Augur whiffs, as it does. Yeah, I already don't love Augur in the regular fairies list, but I feel like we're playing like 4 fewer spells because of the miscreants, so it feels like it really maybe doesn't belong here. I understand you're supposed to set up the augurs, but Y'all, sometimes you don't have the cards to set up the auger. Sometimes you draw them immediately after with this Fairy Seer here. I'm gonna swing with this. Go for the ninja. Probably just snuff out the priest. We also have a cast down for the next scary creature. Cycle another generous hint. And there's an elves. There's a Quirion Ranger. Let's play a Fairy Seer. Try to hit a land drop. We don't need a miscreant when it's our only one. I'll swing. I doubt they're gonna take a 2-for-1 trade here, and if they do, I could just cast them down. Play the Aquifer, and we'll just pass, hold up cast down and spell stutter. Cast the Zan, sure, that's fine. I can cast that down, and I can probably counter whatever else they cast this turn. If they cast nothing, then I can just cast... Oh, it's legendary. I can't cast it down. Okay, fair enough. You know what? You got me. Oh my god, cast down is obsolete. Sound the alarms. I could cast down the Quirion Ranger then if I want. Or I could throw out a spell stutter. I think I'll still save it. That's not a bad draw. Do I want to just go for a Thorn? Then whatever they cast, I can cast down. I can also trade the Thorn for the Zan. That's totally fine. Yeah, I think so. I guess I could attack with the Fairy Seer. It's only 1 damage, and on the off chance they are playing some removal or something to get rid of the Thorn, like a Ram Through or whatever, I want to have a blocker. I guess they could Nyxborn Hydra on the Zan, but I get to still just trade the Thorn for the Zan, then I can cast on the Hydra, and I can take back the Monarch with a Fairy Seer, so, well, I would take the Monarch back with the Fairy Seer before I've given them back their Hydra. No, that's not how that works, because it would be in combat. Whatever. There's the Nyxborn, 6/5. We'll trade with the Thorn of the Black Rose. Yeah, this looks not bad for them, because they take the Monarch and then also get the blocker with Reach, but cast down should just make this pretty easy, I think. They could have a Sentinel, Jasper Sentinel. Oh, Birchlaw Rangers. Sure, that could play something. Pick your poison. Interesting. They did have removal. Each opponent sacrifices a creature with flying of their choice. Also, Quirion could untap one of these if they want, but I'm going to cast down the Hydra, and if they want to untap the Birchlaw or the Ranger to chump block, they are free to do so. If not, I get to draw a card here. I get the Monarch back. I hope I draw a land. They are untapping the Quirion Ranger, but this is already after blocks, so I'm not really sure why that is. Maybe they just did it as a mistake. I would love an island, so I can play a Fairy Miscreant and still hold up like a spell stutter. Oh, Landscape does the same. I could also play an Augur Bolas and a Fairy Miscreant. Then we don't have the Spell Stutter for 2, though, which I don't think I like. There's actual Counterspell. That'll be good, just not this turn. And if they want to take the Monarch without, like, a Nyxborn Hydra, they have to attack with both of these, and I don't know if they want to lose the Ranger. There's a Mystic. I think I'm going to let that go. It feels like that's probably baiting for something more important. And if that something more important is... Looks like another Zan. Sure, you got it. And then if they replay the Mystic, I guess I'll spell stutter it on the way down. Not really shamefully, just, matter-of-factly. Well, they could still just attack with their 2 guys if they really want. Okay, so I could spell stutter and just block both here. We keep the Monarch, then I can play Augur, so we could double block the Zan and hold up Counterspell. I kind of like that, actually. This cuts off some of their mana and various shenaniganery, and another spell stutter sprite. Yeah, we're gonna, I guess, tap like this in case they get like a cantrip. Play an Augur, hold up our stuff. Counterspell's not bad, even if I'm showing it to them, and pass here. There's the land I wanted. They play a Mystic. I would spell stutter that if I could also hold up Counterspell, like I would do that next turn, but for now I think we will just let it go. If they cast a Lead the Stampede, that is not something I will be letting go, though. Counter that. I will certainly double block the Zan if they want to make that trade, and if not, now we just get to sit behind our mountain of counterspells. Our mounter spells. I mean, only one of them's unconditional, but now, if they just run out of Llanowar Elves, I'll be happy to spell stutter that. Swing with Zan. I'll block here. They can trade for the Ninja, but then can also just use one of my other ninjas with the Augur. That feels pretty good. Oh, they actually traded with the Augur. That's fine too. They have another Zan. I gotcha. We will counterspell this one. Not that I'm that scared of it. They drew all 3 of them, but it is just a relevant creature. All right, and they concede there. So we just got to do that again. Yeah. All right, we have an awkward lone ninja, but we do just have cast down Suffocating Fumes counterspell. They mulligan to 5, so hopefully the fumes can get us there. No 1-drop. There's a priest, so I don't have to cast down the priest because I can just hold up counterspell here, and anything they cast, I can decide if I want to counterspell it. Obviously, if they just play a bunch of 1-drops, 1 toughness guys, I can fumes them away. If they cast like a Lead the Stampede, we'll probably counter that. Birchlaw is fine. Winding Way, I will counter. Now they have 1 card left in hand. I am just gonna, well, depending on what they play here, probably just gonna fumes these two away on turn 3 here. They play a Nyxborn Hydra for 1. Why would they do that? Why wouldn't they just wait? Just to get it under a counterspell? I guess it blocks fairies. Yeah, I suppose. I could Fumes. It wipes away 2 of their mana. That's it. It's decent if they get like a Lead the Stampede. I think we're gonna just Brainstorm Augur here. And then next turn I can Augur attack, and if they block with the Hydra, I could like Fumes and wipe them all away. Put back another Brainstorm. Oh, look at this. The Augur's gonna hit. Well, I probably am just gonna take the Arms of Hadar, even though it just broadcasts that we have it. It's just too good to pass up on. There they go. They know we have it. We'll see what they do with that information. Swing with the Hydra. I was gonna say, what could they possibly have here that's gonna be relevant for that, but I assume it's a Zan. They need a tapped creature. This way they can replay their Hydra for bigger later, since it's been Zan the whole time. It's actually a pretty good draw. This is a human, though, not an elf, which is super notable here, because that means they only have 2 mana as opposed to 4, because they could otherwise have, like, Hydra'd up the Zan or something. Okay. I mean, honestly, not a bad draw from them. It survives all of our removal, including the cast down, actually. And then they have a Hydra. So I guess I'd probably want to Fumes away these so they can't make the Hydra too big on this. They know we have the Arms of Hadar, but I might as well save it for when it's more relevant. Plus then I get to play a Fairy Seer here. I don't think we need to Ninja the Deep Hours because we already have that effect. And frankly, I could die to a Zan with just like 2 extra counters from a Hydra. So a Spell Stutter doesn't really help us much there. So I guess I'm looking for a Snuff Out. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of this. Fumes. I should have Fumed in their upkeep. They couldn't have used the mana on anything, so it wouldn't have been relevant there, but it would have made it so we'd take 1 less damage from this Zan that I assume will be getting buffed. There it is. Attack for 6. This does open the way for us to Ninja, but this could be a legitimate threat for a while here until I can find the Snuff Out. Pretty sure all we're looking for is Snuff Out. So Augur actually goes deeper than the Fairy Seer. I guess Seer could like keep a Miscreant or something, but yeah, I think Snuff Out's exactly what we need. So let's just, if we can kill this, I think we can just win. So let's not get sidetracked on anything else. Draw a card. There we go. All right, that makes things easier. So then I'll go for the Augur. I'll snuff this out in the combat step. Well, once they've attacked so that the Hydra can't attack. Oh, and we get another Snuff Out. That's even better. If we didn't see a Snuff Out for 10 cards, then we could die to the Zan. Obviously, at this point, we could just throw everything. We could not attack with anybody and leave everything to block, which we probably would. But the Snuff Outs make that a little easier. There's a Priest of Titania, and I could just hardcast this, but we're about to take 6, so why don't I just take 4 instead? Moon Circuit Hacker. All right, I'm just gonna Arms of Hadar. It just wipes the Priest, but it lets our Ninja and our Augur to attack in against the Hydra, which is good with this Moon Circuit Hacker, so feels like there's some good value to get out of it. Plus we have 2 more removal spells, so I think we should be okay. Draw a card. Miscreant's pretty good. Draw a card. Spell Stutter's good. All right. And even if they had like another Hydra or something to put on here, we have a Snuff Out to keep that covered. There's a Birch Lore. Pass. Go for our Miscreant. Counterspell. Cast down the Hydra. Keep the Snuff Out for another Zan. And hold up Counterspell here. Swing with the team. Draw, then discard. Get rid of a landscape. Pass. Alright, we take down that match. Alright, on the play again. And no lands. Into an okay one. Fairy Seer can set up the Augur. Suffocating Fumes could be good. So I'll play a Seer. Alright. Ponder Miscreant. I need to keep the Miscreant to make sure that the Augur is set up. And Miscreant could be good anyway, obviously. Looks like we're against red something. Been a lot of red going around since High Tide was banned. Sounds like it's time for white. We need to make a comeback. So Augur, we can hit a Ponder at the very least. Or a Lorien. I think I'd rather the Ponder. Ponder could probably hit lands just the same, and it can also set up things like Miscreant or another Augur or whatever. More Rally. Well, Fumes should be good. I hope the fact that we haven't gotten the black down yet, it's not going to be online until turn 4, doesn't bite us too badly. There's the Rally at the Hornburg. So I could just block the Burning Tree and take 2, knowing that these are going to die later to the Fumes. But I'm not actually going to play the Fumes this turn, so if I do that, then I'm taking another damage next turn. So I'm actually blocking 2 by just killing one of these now, essentially. Although I guess I block 2 and then I block 2 again. I don't know. I think we just eat one of these guys, and then we'll see about the next time. Let's Ponder. Cast down's kind of whatever. Fairy Seer's fine. Island's fine. These are all medium. Like, if we can clear the board, then Thorn could be good. Really what we want is counter spells, though. So I don't think this is what we need. Let's just shuffle. All right, there's a counterspell. Play a Miscreant, and I think I'll swing here. The damage isn't great, but I don't really want to lose both of these anyway. And the Fumes is probably going to take out all the 1 toughness creatures regardless, so I don't really need to hold everything back to like chump block everything, you know? They go for a Synth, hitting a Fire Blast. Okay, that's nice. Unless they want to go down to 1 land here, you know, play a mountain and then go down to 1 land. That's going to be a waste of a card, which they could if they want to go all in. But I think that'll work out okay for us as well. There's a Tomb Raider. Swing just with these. Okay, I would obviously like to draw a card off the Miscreant, but I'm happy trading like this, I think. Well, or I could just block with the Augur. We take 2, and the next turn if they go for this attack, I get to block, and get to Fumes them, which I guess is about the same, but less risky. Yeah, let's just do this. All right, they didn't even have the mountain, so Fire Blast was just a waste with no choice there. We get a Lorien, which is nice. That lets us hold up, well, hit our land drop while still holding up a Fumes or Counterspell. And here, I think I'm just going to pass. I could attack the Fairy Seer, but if they get like another Tomb Raider and then I Fumes, I could like trade a Fairy Seer for a Tomb Raider, which could be good. And I would like to wipe their board before I land down a Thorn. So like my preferred thing for them to do would be Burning Tree into Rally here, which I could Fumes away. Just a Reckless Impulse. I kind of just want to counter that. They're missing land drops, and that means if I counter this, I probably shouldn't need the Fumes this turn. Now, if I play Thorn, it's a little risky. If they just like play creatures and brute force their way through, it's going to go great for us. But if they like Bolt Augur, Bolt Thorn, swing with these 2, I guess I could Fairy Seer to take it back, cast down the Tomb Raider. It's not, it's pretty risky, but doesn't feel like we have much else to do here. And ideally, while they're missing land drops, this will be okay. I don't know. I honestly wouldn't have hated a Snuff out there just as another way to kill a creature. There's the Burning Tree. If they Burning Tree into Rally, it's not the end of the world, because I can just, okay, they can take the Monarch here, but I can just block, eat one of their 2/2s, and then we still have the Suffocating Fumes. Like, them not killing our creatures here is the important part. And we're going to Fumes next turn almost 100%, so I'm just going to block here rather than a 1/1. We also have the Ambusher, which is pretty nice, but we're not going to be using that. Unless I top deck my Swamp here, I'm not going to be using that because I want to hold up Fumes. I'm just going to swing in with the Fairy Seer. That's not a bad draw. I shouldn't get punished, I don't think. But this way, if they have another 2/2 with haste, I can like block them both and then wipe everything away. I guess again, if they have the Bolt, and attack with everything, I can Fumes, but they can still get in with the Tomb Raider. That could be problematic. But I guess then I can attack with the Fairy Seer, Ambusher to take the Monarch, replay the Seer, and hold up a Cast Down, so that could be okay. Synth into a Tomb Raider, that's perfect with the Fumes, because now they attack, I get to Fumes, wipe everything away. Unless they don't attack, which is possible. I mean, it is a costly attack, right? Because the Death Touch eats a 2/2, and I can either Augur block here or here. We take 3 or 4, but they get the Monarch, they think, anyway. I'd obviously prefer for them to attack. All right, and they do. So here we get to just wipe away their whole board and retain the Monarch. Man, I love a main deck Suffocating Fumes. It's so good. We get a Lorien. I'm just gonna swing with the Augur, get down our Lifelinker. This way I get the best chance to draw a Counterspell, and I can hold up Counterspell and Cast Down this way. Snuff out. Yeah, we'll just take the Cast Down. We have the mana. Don't need to pay the life. There's a Fairy Seer. There's a Synth. Flips up an Epicure. They cast that. They found the mountain, finally. Don't think there's really a reason to cast down their guy there. Oh, they have an Ambusher. They wait until our draw step, which means I could have drawn the Counterspell here, but that works. That's totally fine. I'm gonna just Lorien, holding up Counterspell mana or Spell Stutter if I can find one of those. We don't. I'll just hold up a Cast Down then. We should be able to just win off of what we already have here. Don't need to be too aggressive, especially if they're Kraken Synths. Hitting a mountain. We'll cast down the Samurai. Moon Circuit Hacker. Let's go for a Fairy Seer first. There's a Spell Stutter and another Seer. We'll just keep the Spell Stutter. Swing with our Fairy Seer. Moon Circuit it back. Hand. Draw the Spell Stutter. Play a Seer. Get rid of the land. Keep a Dispel. Bajuka Bog. And I'll play a Miscreant. I guess I could have Augured and gotten the Dispel for a guarantee, but this way I can hold up Dispel and Spell Stutter. I think that feels pretty good. Crack a Synth for a Tomb Raider. Cast a Tomb Raider. We'll Spell Stutter that. Alright, and they concede. They've had enough. We get to bring in our Blasts, Dispels, Mukutai, and Arms of Hadar. Take out the Snuff Outs. The Thorn worked really well there, but in general, that's not really what I'm counting on, so I think we're cutting those out. And what we do last time, 2 more cast downs, I think. Seems fine. We have some counter magic here. Brainstorm can hopefully find like one of our board wipes. Tomb Raider, but no haste. There is a god. Oh, brother. We are on the draw, though. Is a turn 2 spell stutter and counterspell too slow? I mean, if they have the burning tree and everything right here, then we're going to be in some serious trouble already. They have nothing else with haste, though. That is a great sign. I'm not going to brainstorm here because I want to hold up the 2 mana for our counterspells, and so I don't want to cycle the Lorien, in which case brainstorm's basically just a cantrip, and that's not why it's here. So they didn't have burning tree, rally, maybe a bushwhacker, and they just didn't want to use it there. Or I guess they could have had some of that stuff and they just were too worried about Hydroblast that they didn't want to go for it, but that seems overly cautious. Attacking for 1 again. I've never felt safer than right now. There's the burning tree. I think we'll just counterspell that. It means they can't do anything else this turn. You know, significant. It is a creature, and we don't have any other ways to deal with the creatures. They could red blast this, in which case they could still, like, Reckless Impulse or something, but can't do much about that. And they do. Another burning tree. Oh, come on. So they did have one of these last turn. They just didn't want this stuff to get countered. Nothing to play there. Okay. Well, kind of weird, but that is pretty scary at this point. I want to get down to Aqua for this turn so I can find like an Arms of Hadar. Then I'm not holding up Spell Stutter, though, although it's only countering a 1-drop. But 1-drop could be even just like a Bushwhacker. Obviously, if they have a Bolt, it doesn't really do much, though. I think we just got to play this. Well, I should brainstorm now, actually. Because if I hit like an Augur, maybe I'd want to play that. We don't. Get rid of... Kind of need a Cast Down. Kind of feel like Ninja's not going to work. Honestly, just these 2/2s could be probably pretty problematic here. I think I'm getting rid of a Ninja and a land. Maybe I should have just gotten rid of the other Lorien, because if I end up cycling it, it's just a worse land. I guess I'll set a stop in our upkeep in case. Yep, there's the Bushwhacker. I could spell stutter this, but if they have a bolt for it, it's really, really bad. So I could just counterspell. We're still taking 6, but it's not as bad. Yeah, I think I'm just going to do that. If they have the Red Blast, it doesn't matter either way, but this way at least plays around 1 removal spell. Well, they have the Red Blast, so maybe, I don't know. They had such a slow start, but we're not really getting there this time, it doesn't look like. Cycle Lorien and the upkeep. I guess our best draw would be like Augur. No, pass. I mean, this is 7 damage, so I have to just cast the Spell Stutter to block. And then, let's see, they need to draw mountains for about 3 turns. I block the Bushwhacker here, then we drop top deck Arms of Hadar, and maybe we can get there. They have the Pyroblast. Yeah, I guess our hand was just too slow. I think this is just indicative of how crazy fast Pauper can be, because like they didn't have a very fast start. Their first 2 turns were kind of abysmal, but then Bushwhacker's a crazy card. We're on the play here, so maybe this is good enough, but all it is Spell Stutter on turn 2 for a 1-drop, and then Hacker. That doesn't seem very good. If I just had 1 to 2 islands, preferably 2, I would keep that. Yep. Now we're on 5. Of course, this is our tap land, so I can't just Fairy Seer to scry and set up our next land. I'm going to keep this. It has the tools we need. We're getting rid of both counterspells. Just hope we top deck an island here. And now they have the good start. Fairy Seer. I pretty much have to play this. We need to hit an island. Of course, now we're going to hit them. Obviously, we need one of these. The second one's not bad, but I honestly kind of need to find something else. Like, I try not to get greedy with lands at this point, but we're just going to get steamrolled if we keep 2 islands, I think. And we have a fair amount of interaction at our 1 mana here. If they only have 1 land, maybe we have a shot. For that reason, I definitely don't want to block this Percussionist. Okay, well, never mind. They have the mountain. Just played it post-combat like a nerd. Play another Seer. Jukabog. I guess we'll keep a Lorien Revealed as a land. They have a Bushwhacker. I could obviously counter it, but I think I'd rather just kill the Tomb Raider, and we can block the Fairy Seer on the Epicure and the Bushwhacker, assuming we don't get hit by a Pyroblast. I guess I could just take the 5 here, and then I could Blue Blast with Dispel backup on our turn, but it feels like just taking the extra 3 damage is not great if we can try to avoid it. And that did work, so that's something. Cycle the Lorien for an island, play a Miscreant, we have a Dispel backup. If we had 2 more cards from our mulligan, I think we'd be in an okay spot. As is, not loving my chances. Can't counter the Impulse. Rally and a Pyroblast. So if they have a mountain, they just go for the Rally. If not, they might Pyro the Miscreant. Or probably just hold it up, actually. Have the Dispel for it, I suppose. They do have the mountain. There's the Rally. I really need to draw a Suffocating Fumes or like an Augur Bolas. Another Fairy Miscreant. I guess we just take the 3 here to increase our good draws. Spell Stutter is something, I suppose. We'll pass. They go for the Burning Tree Emissary. I guess I could Spell Stutter it. I know they have a Pyro, but I can dispel that and just hope that their last 2 cards are not Pyroblasts or interaction for our creatures at all. But I would kind of like to keep their stuff off the field, especially the guys that don't get traded with our sprites. And there's the Pyro, there's the Dispel. And we do counter the Burning Tree Emissary. Okay, that's something. I feel like I have to keep... They don't attack? That's crazy. I was going to say I have to keep at least one of these around so that my draws of a ninja are good. They didn't attack at all, which is shocking. I feel like that means they have a Bushwhacker next turn. It'd still be blocking. Maybe they have like a Electricity or something? I don't know. We drew poorly, so we have to just hope for the best again. Rally, sure. And then the Bushwhacker. Yep. So we're going to go to 1. Well, we had a pretty good record going. We had a pretty good match, and then we just... really bad mulligan into a not very good hand. I guess if they have nothing, Fumes or an Arms of Adar would keep us alive into something else, but fortunately not. Alright, we're on the draw. Feels weird, but this hand is okay. And Molten Tributary. Not exactly sure what that is. My first thought is like Flickertron, maybe? I don't think we need another Thorn no matter what it is. Fairy Miscreant, if we have another one shortly behind, it's pretty good, but otherwise it just doesn't do much, so I think we're going to bottom that too. Flickertron indeed. There's a Prism. Swing for 1. Well, Thorn should be pretty good. We need to draw something other than lands. We do have a counter spell up here. Keep a card on top. And there's more lands. Swing for 1. Pass the turn. Cycle a Lorien. Play an island. I mean, they're not very close to assembling Tron, which is something. I don't really feel like I'm going to be able to Thorn of the Black Rose here. So I guess I should brainstorm, because if I hit a Moonstrucker Hacker, I could cast, or I could use that. Should have done this in our main phase. Ninja the Deep Hours I can still just use. Then we have to tap out of Counterspell, but that's probably fine. Then I also get to scry, well, not both of those lands, because we're going to pick one up with the Ninja, but I get to scry one of the lands away. I think this is hopefully worthwhile. They're not doing too much, but ideally that's not... ideally that's going to continue. Maybe while we're tapped out, they're going to take advantage of it. Island can go. We already have a cast down. Snuff out is good, though. I think we'll keep the Snuff out. If they get like a Mnemonic Wall or something, it could be good with the Ninja, and just in general. There's a Mystical Teachings. Well, that could just get a Breath Weapon, I suppose. Crop Rotation. Sure. That's not bad either. There's a map. All right, well, they're going to assemble Tron, crack the map, play the mine, use the Crop Rotation, and play a Prism and a Refractor. Well, nothing happened per se, but they did just get to set up, make 1,000,000 mana and of any color, so it's not looking great here. But we get to hold up 2 counter spells, 2 removal spells. Drawing with our ninja's pretty nice. They're just going to pass. That's fine. Swing for 3. I'm just going to draw. I'm not going to go for another ninja. That seems premature or overzealous or something. I feel like Thorn, like getting the Monarch would be really nice. I feel like tapping out of both of our counter spells seems like a mistake. So I'm going to not do that. They're going to flashback Teachings here. I'm just going to counterspell. I could counterspell the thing they get. Maybe, although if what they get is like a Weather the Storm or a Moment's Peace or something, then it will have multiple uses or storms or whatever. This also makes it so we don't have to discard, which is something. They have another Mystical Teachings. That one's going to resolve. Ghostly Flicker, just to draw 2. I guess Spell Stutter only counters a 2-drop, so I'm not going to counter that. It's also just a Divination, so it's not the end of the world. Like, I don't really need to brainstorm to try to find another counterspell, I don't think. Another Expedition map. I don't think that's relevant. Like, enough to counter, that is. It's more mana, but they already have a plethora of mana, I think. I'd rather counter like a Cryogen Relic or something. We'll try to counter it, see if they have a counter back or removal spell or something. They prohibit. Sure, that's gonna work. And they're gonna pass. I want to brainstorm, cycle a Lorien. Tapping out doesn't feel amazing, but I don't actually have a counter spell anyway. If they like Breath Weapon, I guess that's fine. Ghostly Flicker? Sure. Now they draw 3 and Impulse. Why not? Alright, Brainstorm works. We get a counter spell. We're gonna have 7 mana, so I could play a Thorn, but I probably want to get down Ninja. Let's put back Landscape and this cast down. Cycle Lorien for an island. Play that. Another counterspell. Okay. So I can Fairy Seer, Ninja the Seer that we attack with, draw 2 cards, hold up double counter. We get a Spell Stutter as well. Seems alright. I was also a little worried about a Weather the Storm last turn when there was a huge storm count. They could still build up a pretty big storm count this turn, but they gotta do something now. There's a Mnemonic Wall. Gets back a Ghostly Flicker. Gonna counterspell that. Then if they have the Pulse Marasa, I can counterspell that too. Just another wall. Yeah, I could counter, or I could just snuff out when they go for a Ghostly Flicker. Yeah, I think we'll just let that one go. They go for a Prohibit. Sure. They might already have a Ghostly Flicker. Crack a Cryogen on a Ninja. Sure. Another snuff out. Well, I guess I can snuff this guy out then. If they have a Ghostly Flicker or something, just react. We'll play a Fairy Seer so that I have a better spell stutter here. Double Augur. One on the bottom, one on the top. Hit for 3. They have the Moment's Peace now. I could spell stutter it, but I'm not actually dealing lethal damage. So it kind of feels like I'd prefer to fight over it when I am. So I'm going to do that. I lose out on a counter, unfortunately. A card. That's what I'm trying to say. And I do want to play a Thorn of the Black Rose here, but then I'm only holding up one counterspell. I kind of think it's worth it, though. Like, we already got them on the turn they tried to do double Mnemonic Wall. It feels like a lot of, like, they definitely could have a hand or a turn that I'm going to want to double counter, but it feels like they might have a more reactive turn or go for a big Weather the Storm, which I can't do much about. There's a Mystic, so that is something we want to counter. And they have the Prohibit, which we know about. Or I guess they could like Mystical Teachings for an Unwind. They just have the Unwind, sure. Yep. They still have Prohibit, 2 unknowns, Lorien Revealed. Well, I could snuff out, but we know they have Prohibit, so that just doesn't make a lot of sense. I guess I'd rather wait till our turn so that I can have a Spell Stutter backup. Maybe also a counterspell from this Augur, if I'm lucky. There's the Breath Weapon. Sure. Prism, Pulse Marasa, back a wall. Oh, we got a counterspell. Let's play Augur for a cast down. Swing. Technically, they're limited by mana here, but I think I'd rather them not get a bunch of birds that can attack us on our turn, so gonna probably pass to their turn and then cast down the Mystic, unless they just have like Pulse here. They still have 3 mana for Prohibit. Spell Stutter doesn't even counter anything anymore. Cast down, Ghostly Flicker, snuff out the Mystic. That works. Draw a card here. Then I counter the wall. They have the Prohibit for this, and then I don't think we can do anything about that. Alright, we're dead. Okay, we get 2 relics, another Dispel, and some Steel Sabotages. Counters Map, Cryogen, Prism, and Energy Refractor. I think that's fine. Take out... I feel like by the time they land a Mystic, usually we're going to be dead already. Like, I'm going to keep in some Snuff Outs, but I kind of think we don't need this many removal spells. And Augur doesn't seem very good here. On the play here, I mean, we have a lot of counter spells. I think we need a Ninja for this to be a really good hand, but still seems okay. No turn 1 play is nice. Jukabog. I will just cast a Spell Stutter here. Makes a Ninja a live draw. Makes the next Spell Stutter be able to counter a 2-drop. Starts pressuring them mildly. We'll pass. Expedition Map. I think we'll counter with a Spell Stutter. I could Steel Sabotage it, but that's actually less mana efficient. They could then land an Energy Refractor, sure. If they just have Tron naturally, then it's pretty good that they do it that way, I suppose. I could Steel Sabotage to bounce the Refractor. That doesn't seem super great. They play another Mine. There's a Prism. I think we'll counter that with a Steel Sabotage. And I think our game plan right now is just attack with a bunch of 1/1s. So I'm just going to play this down, increase our clock, hope that a counterspell can keep our guys alive through like a potential breath weapon or something. Cycle a Lorien for a Tributary, pass. Swing for 4, pass the turn. They don't play anything. Interesting. Let's swing for 4. They have the breath weapon. We're going to dispel that. They have a Pyroblast. Yeah, I'm going to counterspell. We need everything on board to be able to win. I'm going to hope there's no backup breath weapon. Oh my goodness. Well, we're going to keep the Miscreants. If they can wipe the board, then we're screwed. Like a Fumes or something. Ghostly Flicker. Okay. Draws them. I mean, they spent 2 mana to draw a card, basically. To cycle it. Prophetic Prism. They're at 6, but I get to Miscreant pre-combat. Because if I can find a Ninja, then I can just win. So we're going to try for that. Oh, in response, they have a Pyroblast to hit the Miscreant so we don't draw a card. Sure. That's annoying. I mean, we still just have lethal next turn, but obviously not if they do anything. Okay, we do get that game. Nice. I guess that's a decent strategy. Not usually the one you're going to employ, but we had a couple counter spells and then just a relatively fast clock. I mean, it was turn 8, but fast enough, apparently. Man, this swamp's really awkward because I can't turn 1, like, hold up a Steel Sabotage. I can't even counterspell here. But the hand looks okay. Decent interaction. Fairy Seer. Island would be a nice draw. That's not an island. They have an Impulse. Now we get an island. So I can Fairy Seer, Ninja, and a Fairy Seer. Put this Seer to the bottom. No, we'll leave them both on top, I think. Play a Miscreant too. I could hold up a Steel Sabotage, but we did not. And it looks like it'll pay off. Play a Swamp, attack, get a Ninja down. This time I am going to leave up the Sabotage/Dispel to try to protect our creatures. They had nothing to cast. And they have Tron. They only have blue mana. What's the worst thing they could do if I cycle this Lorien at the end step? Mystical Teachings. I think that's fine. I'll just have a counterspell for whatever they get, I guess. Every mana counts quite a bit here. And look at how annoying this swamp is. I have all blue spells that I'd like to be casting. Swing for 3. Draw a card. I think we're just going to pass. There's the Mystical. What's that going to find? I don't know. I think we let it go because I can counter whatever it is, ideally. If they're currently stopped, prohibit, sure. Yeah, if they're currently stuck on just blue mana, they're going to try to get off of that Cryogen Relic. I guess that could tap down the Ninja? Sure, I'll counter this. Then if they prohibit, then I can Dispel. Another Cryogen. Do I want to counter that? Sure. I don't know. These are not usually the things I was planning on countering. Like, if they then just get an Energy Refractor, but it feels like they didn't have one, and they don't. And Steel Sabotage is nice. Now I can just swing, get down my Moon Circuit Hacker, please draw an island, snuff out. So we get another Miscreant. I should have played a Seer first. I wanted to hold up Dispel and Steel Sabotage, because if they get the thing, I still think I should, actually, because then if they get a Refractor, I can Steel Sabotage it. If they prohibit, I can Dispel. Yeah, let's just, and ideally with 2 more draws next turn, I should hit a land, so I don't need the Seer, is my thought. Conduit Pylons does open them up to more colors of mana. Leave it on top. Pass. There's the island. All right, then I'm going to play a Fairy Seer, because now I could maybe find like an actual counterspell. Yep, Fairy Seer on the bottom, counterspell on top, swing, draw and discard. Another Ninja gives me lethal next turn, so I don't think I'm discarding that. I think it's probably the Seer. The Miscreants are pretty decent together. Snuff Out could become relevant if they get a Mystic or something. They're going to flash back the Mystical Teachings on the end step. This one I might want to Dispel, but then they prohibit. I counterspell, but then they can do whatever they want on their turn. I don't like that. If they get like a Moment's Peace, they're going to buy a couple turns, but I think we have to let that go. I mean, I guess Breath Weapon's probably their best bet, but then I can fight over that ideally. Unwind. Well, I don't love that they're just getting counterspells, because then it feels like they're going to have something scary to resolve. Play a Power Plant. They're just going to pass. Yeah, so they have to have Weather the Storm, Moment's Peace, or something. I mean, I guess technically they don't look like they're dead this turn, but we're going to force the issue if they don't cast something first. Another Mystical. Mystical's going to find something. Yeah, that's fine. Because if Mystical finds Moment's Peace, they can cast that, I can Dispel, they can prohibit or unwind, but then they are out of colored mana and I can counterspell. If they find Breath Weapon, same thing. It's possible that by going for the 6 damage this turn, which they weren't expecting, I can catch them a little off guard and maybe get there. Maybe if they realize that, they just go for a Weather the Storm. They get the Breath Weapon. Sure. I will Dispel, and then I'll Counterspell. And I should Counterspell the Unwind, because they could untap otherwise. And that could be very relevant. And then we should deal them lethal, right? Colorless mana can't do anything. Yeah. All right, able to take down a 4-1. I feel like I've gotten a lot of 4-1s recently. No trophies, unfortunately. Red Rally will do that to you sometimes. This deck is obviously great. I love Dimir Faeries. It is one of my all-time favorite decks. You get to play this kind of early tempo / controlling game, and then late game obviously just turn into a full control deck. Really fun. The Miscreants, honestly not bad. I'm not the biggest fan of Miscreant, especially in mono blue. It just feels like a lot of times you have better creatures you can play, and they don't always trigger, obviously. And this one is that's also true, but you have a little bit more ways to find them with brainstorms and ponders and stuff like that. I guess not even the most. Obviously, you're still drawing off of ninjas just the same as you are in mono blue. I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily like this better. I guess the main things we're missing out on are a Gurmag Angler and more cantrips, I think. I mean, this is my usual version. Gurmag, yeah, Preordains and Brainstorms, and maybe a little bit of different sideboarding. But in general, yeah, this list felt pretty solid, and Barf always has good lists. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my supporters. If you want to support me on a monthly basis, go ahead and check the link in the description to my Metafy. I really appreciate it. It's the best way to help me out. Thank you to my current supporters, Howard Granger, Rafa Rodriguez, JDNPX, Tommaso Magnani, Hal Kaz, Cody Cowell, Ill Intent, and Emmanuel Mayer. I really appreciate your support, and I will see you all next time.